St. Paisios, what did he say? Baptize. Get baptized. He said to a priest friend of mine, who's a priest now in the church, in the OCA, who's publicly said this, by the way. Everybody knows this, but I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to give him attention to him. But he went to Mount Athos. He was in Greece for studying theology. And people were telling him, you need to be baptized because you're only chrismated. And he was like, what is this? What are they talking about? Nobody told me that in America. This was in the 1980s. So he goes to St. Paisios. Of course, he was still alive. And he sits down and he says, Yeroda, what's going on here? Am I Orthodox or not? He says, look, St. Paisios says, look, Father. He wasn't Father then. He was a student, I think, at the theological school. He says, look, here's what's going on. Now, your friends and the people who you're talking about are not going to like St. Paisios' answer, okay? I know that. They hate it. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what he said, and this is from the priest who heard it, all right? So you can say, well, he's all washed up, but I'm not lying. So he says to this young man, he says, look, here it is. You're not hooked up to the electrical wires. Like they're going all around your neighborhood, but you didn't connect yet. Like you got all the machinery, but you got to actually connect the wires. He says, well, what do you mean? I should be baptized? I said, yeah, you need to be baptized. Another priest, Greek Archdiocese, friend of mine. His bishop knows this. His bishops, so this is not, I'm not outing anybody. I'm not going to say their names, but this is like common knowledge among certain people. Anyway, he went to Greece. He went to Mount Athos. He went to the great Elder Emilianos. For all of you who out there who don't know who Elder Emilianos is, he's the abbot of the monastery of Simonopetra on Mount Athos. This is a monastery that a lot of intellectuals revere. We have some intellectual monks in America who are from this monastery. People love to talk about, Elder Emilianos' writings on all these topics, but here's something they don't want to talk about. So this young man, I think he was a priest actually at that point. I'm not sure. I think he was a priest. Maybe. In the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And he's sitting there and Elder Emilianos says, where's your guardian? You don't have a guardian angel. It's like, what do you mean I don't have a guardian angel? He said, were you baptized? He said, well, I was received by chrismation. You need to be baptized. You don't have a guardian angel. He pretty much knew that the man was not baptized. Now, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Did he actually see a guardian angel? It means that Elder Ephraim was known to see angels and all kinds of things. So maybe Elder Emilianos had this vision. I don't know. I just know that this revered elder that people love to talk about in other ways but don't want to talk about this, he had the same position as St. Paisios. Let's go to St. Ephraim of Kathounakia. Same thing. How about St. Iakovos? St. Iakovos of Evia, great saint. We got a whole story in the book that we published where he says, I don't want to tell the whole story because it's long. Go get the book, Life of St. Iakovos. But basically, the bishop said it's not necessary for this. He had somebody there who's a catechumen from Italy, and his spiritual son was catechizing him, and he was all excited. And he said, go to the bishop now, get the blessing so you can be baptized. The bishop says, no, I just want to be baptized. We've changed our policy on that. Now we just chrismate people who are Roman Catholics. He doesn't need to be baptized. So he comes back to St. Iakovos and says, the bishop told me I didn't need to be baptized. He said, oh, really? He said, yeah, the Holy Synod of Greece said, actually, you don't need to be baptized. Oh, he said, really? St. Iakovos now says, I don't know what the Holy Synod says. I know what the gospel says. And the gospel says, believe and be baptized. We're going to baptize you. And he immediately went over to the chapel, prepared the baptismal font, and himself did the baptism. This is in the life, and it's told to me by the person who had the experience. All right, so our contemporary saints that we all revere and read and study are telling us that there's a problem. There's a problem. We're not doing things the way the fathers handed down to us. Well, you can go back to the ancient fathers, you can go back to the Kolivadis fathers, or you can